Hi, everybody. Erica here again from In the Company of Cards. If you're new, welcome. If you've been here before, um, welcome back. I'm coming to you on a day that I don't normally come to you, but I had done the horoscopes yesterday. If you are interested in that kind of thing, it's the video right before this. So if you'd like to look and see what I did with tarot and Lenormand in the month of July for each horoscope sign, um, each zodiac sign, look at that video. Usually on Mondays, and I didn't do it yesterday, I remind you of what I have on offer in case my work is something that is of interest to you. So um, I read Lenormand, which is a European card divination system. It's a 36 card system. It's from the late 1700s, early 1800s. And so I use it to read on politics, culture, race, personal stuff. Um, I use it for a lot here. I wrote a book called The Language of Lenormand or Lenormand or Lenormand, however you want to pronounce it. It's called The Language of Lenormand, and it's a really friendly guide. I taught for 30 years, so I'm a pretty good teacher, and it teaches you to read Lenormand the way that I do. I read in a traditional way, but I also put my own spin on it. It's in English, obviously, wherever books are sold, as they say. And then there's also the French version, if you prefer that. It's called Discover the Secret Language of Lenormand, but obviously in French, Découvrez le langage secret du Lenormand. So you can find that also. I have a deck. It is the deck that I mostly use when I read Lenormand, although I assure you there are many gorgeous decks out there, and mine's not the only one. But I am delighted that I do have my own deck, and it is available only through La Panthère, like the Panther, La Panthère Studio.com. There is the regular size edition, and then there's also a very cute mini edition. Um, what else? I also have a course that I have put up where I recorded a bunch of videos, and you can take the course at your own pace, learn on your own time. And the links for all of those are right under each of my videos. If you click, you can find all of those. If you want a private reading with me, just shoot me an email to inthecompanyofcards.com. Um, and we can arrange that. I do half-hour readings as well as hour-long readings. What else do I want to say? I am going to put up a course in the fall. Probably it'll go up in the middle of September. This will be a live course. So this will be a 5-week course with me, probably via Zoom. And would love if you would think about that. There will be a cost attached to that. Um, but anyway, if you would like to learn in real time from me, each class will be 2 hours long and it'll be 5 weeks long. So we're talking about 10 hours. I will probably put up a Facebook group too so that people can practice together. And because the best way to do Lenormand or to become good at any of these divination systems, of course, is to practice. But we'll, you know, talk about that in the class. Um, let's see, what else do I want to say? Oh, I wanted to make note of the fact that I had mentioned that birthright citizenship would pass. I was happy to see that the vote was not as narrow as I thought it might be, but bottom line, it passed. So that's good. There were some other decisions, of course, that are less good, but whatever. So we are done with the Supreme Court for a while because they go on hiatus for the months of July, August, and I think September. I don't think they come back until October. But I do want to look at one Supreme Court related thing. This was a viewer question, so I am going to respond to that. The question was, um, so Clarence Thomas was seen by reporters walking in the halls of Congress, having met with Mike Johnson. And the reporters asked him, so, what are you doing here? And he said nothing. And then he was asked again, and he said something like, just taking a walk. He's got to be a smart aleck. I don't, the poor thing. I mean, he's the bluest eye personified. I've never met such a self-hating Black person in my life. But anyway, it is very sort of not the done thing for the Supreme Court justices to be seen, what, in cahoots with members of Congress. So it was a startling thing. And so the viewer asked me what was Clarence Thomas doing with Mike Johnson. So uh, I'm going to use the older man as Clarence, and I just want to know, Clarence, what were you doing in the halls of Congress in the office of Mike Johnson? I mean, we can guess that they were up to no good. I mean, that much we can guess. I don't know if we'll get more details than that, but at least we can get that confirmed. Okay, so let's see what we have here. If my energy seems a little low, it's just because I spent the day like I normally do on Tuesdays, which is why you normally don't see me here, over on Substack, writing an article. Every Tuesday, I write an article, and I use Lenormand, and I also use tarot, and I use the African oracle, the Adinkra. And I have these three cards, these three systems, divination systems, sort of have a conversation. And of course, I chime in. And so you can find that over on Substack. You can look for my name there. It's Erica with a K, in the company of cards. And it's free to read anything over there that I write. Sometimes I do videos over there too. So, I would love it if you would go over there and subscribe. And while I'm asking you to subscribe there, I would love it if you would subscribe here. I do think that these platforms are, I don't think there's any way to um, deny that there is some sort of purge going on, um, of people who are left leaning and doing political work with divination. So, my numbers I know have dropped, and uh, you know, who knows what the reason is. The thing is, I'm not the only one. So I do think it is somewhat on purpose. And so if you ever don't see me here for some reason, if my channel has become invisible to you, go over to Substack and please do subscribe. Don't just follow over there, subscribe. Again, you can do a paid subscription, but it is not required. All of my work over there on Substack is free of charge. Um, yeah, so, okay. So we are looking for Clarence Thomas in the deck, and we want to know what he was doing with Mike Johnson the other day. So do like, share, subscribe, hype, all of the rest. That will help keep me present here. Okay, so this stands for um, Clarence Thomas. I'm sure he'd rather I have a white man, but sorry, no white guys in my deck. Um, and I don't want to belabor it. What I wanted to do is just check and see whether what seems obvious is also accurate. So we have the rider, we have the snake, we have Clarence Thomas, we have the sun, and then we have the birds. And if you've been with me any length of time, you will know that the birds is about talking, conversations, meetings, anything verbal like that, gossip. But it's also my card for the Supreme Court. So that's very interesting. I think that here we have the rider. I can mirror it, look at it together with the last card, the first and the last card. You can mirror. And mirror just means put the cards together and make an assessment about what they're trying to say. I think he was carrying to Mike Johnson a message from the Supreme Court. And when I say the Supreme Court, of course, I mean that he probably had the blessing of the the five other conservative judges, including Thomas, that would be six. So he was trying to give Mike Johnson a heads up, probably in advance of the decisions that came down today. There was and yesterday there was the one on E. Jean Carroll, which I knew they weren't going to hear it. I don't know why they didn't just say that from jump. But in a way, I kind of think it's good that they let the felon think that they were going to rule in his favor by keeping the case on their docket. But then in the end, he is an adjudicated sexual abuser and has to pay up that money. It was a civil case, of course, so I'm sure, is very angry about that. We know that he's lost the birthright citizenship case, and it could very well be that Mike Johnson was getting a heads up on that because we know that the felon's whole all the planks in his platform um, are based on racism and xenophobia. And so it will have been quite a blow to him and to Mike um, to have birthright citizenship upheld. The other thing was the voting piece, where the court, this was a good thing, the court said, no, you can't meddle with that, and you can't use the Postal Service to threaten that you're not going to mail ballots to states that don't hand over their voter rolls. You can't do that. So that was very good news for us. So I think it could very well have been Thomas trying to kind of soften the news to Mike that things were not going to go 100% the Republicans' way. Yeah, so he carried, um, bad news for Mike, and he was giving him a heads up, shining a light on news that was not out yet. So I think that was it. For all I know, they may have been plotting and planning what they're going to do next. I don't know. But I think that the meeting was not long. And I think it was just to give Mike Johnson a heads up on which way the votes were going to go um, in this last tranche of decisions. I think that's what it was. Okay. Um, I had thought to look at Natalie Harp, but I'm very seldom do I engage in gossipy type topics. I could, but unless I get asked, I think I'm gonna just leave that alone. But speaking of gossipy topics, I am not above taking a look at the felon's July. I usually will do that. I will look at him for the month. And I think what I'll do is, huh, I think I will use the tarot deck. I really like the Tarot of the Abyss. This is the one that I used when I did the uh, astrological sign scopes yesterday that a lot of you liked, some of you didn't. And, whatever, just take what you like and leave the rest. I mean, it's not hard. Um, so this is that deck. It's a black and white pen and ink deck by Anna Turian. And again, it's called the Tarot of the Abyss. So what I'm going to do is, there's roughly um, 4 weeks in a month, right? So I will pull um, one card per week, and that last card will stand for, will take us through the 31st. So I'm going to pull one tarot card for each week for the felon. And then I will pull clarifiers. I'll do three clarifiers for each week. Um, Astrologers are saying that he will have not a good month. We know that that peace situation is not happening. We know that Israel just um, bombed, did a big bombing of Lebanon just overnight, I think it was. So so much for winning the Peace Prize or being able to declare peace. We do have the Nazi gold um, eagle on the back of the White House. I mean, if you look at that eagle, it is reminiscent of the eagle that was on lots and lots of um, NAZI buildings during that time. So I think it was a little nod to where he would like us to be. But anyway, um, let's look at how his month will go. All right. So first thing I'm going to do is pull a tarot card, just four. Okay, so that's one tarot card for each week. And this tarot deck is a little bit different than the standard Rider Waite or Smith Waite. So I have the book here in case whatever the card is sort of wildly different from the standard meaning. Oops. Okay. And I would say some of these meanings probably will be quite different. So let's take it one at a time. And I mean, I don't really feel like I need to pull the lid down, so I think I won't get too cumbersome. I hope you trust me by now. Okay, so for the first week of July, which begins, of course, tomorrow, and that, of course, is also the week that will include the 4th of July. Um, we have the Three of Swords. Um, and what's interesting is that there are, in this deck, there are cards that are standard, and then occasionally she'll do a second card, which is a sort of a different interpretation of the original card. And what we got for this Three of Swords is a different interpretation. Um, okay. I really, you know, I actually, I don't really feel like I want to use that other interpretation. So even though this card, if you're a tarotist, you may say, "What is that?" Just think of what you know of as the Three of Swords, and I'll remind you in a second. So this is the Three of Swords. This is the felon's week one. Okay. Now, swords in tarot are about thoughts. And so, for example, the traditional Three of Swords card will be some version of a heart pierced by three swords. And it is about the pain and agony that we inflict on ourselves with our thoughts. Three of Swords. Um, so, you know, forget that it looks like this and just think of the heart pierced by three swords. And so that is painful. We know that he's not feeling great. He doesn't look great. He has gotten a lot of bad news, certainly on the war front, and also that stupid fair, state fair that nobody went to. I think it's very interesting that nobody went. And the reason I think it's so interesting is, um, it's the National Mall, and usually in the summer, that is a very crowded venue, right? People are off. They bring their kids. It's a big grassy expanse. And so we have this fair. So you would think that it would be, I don't know, extra crowded, correct? If all the usual people who go were there, on top of that, the fair attendees, shouldn't it have been sort of people all over the place? The fact that it wasn't, and it's not, is telling because it's making me say, not only are people who would regularly go because it's their summertime thing to do, not only did they not go, the MAGA people didn't go. We know that the food was overpriced, probably bad. We know that the ice cream machines didn't work because, the power went out. So, ice cream needs cold in order to be ice cream. So that was a bust. We know that most of the acts pulled out, including Vanilla Ice and Bret Michaels. Is that the guy's name? Who seemed to be shoo-ins to perform. Well, they pulled out. So he is just embarrassed, humiliated. These are, remember, swords are thoughts. And then he's had these big losses at the Supreme Court. Very interesting. So he will still be licking his wounds from that. So I pulled three clarifiers, and they are him, he pops up, the moon, and the dog. I think that he will spend the first week really asking himself, who can I trust? Who really are my allies? And remember, this is the card not just for your own self-image, which, as we know from the Three of Swords, is not good, but it's also the card of reputation. And he is a lame duck. He can't run again, despite what he'll have you think. But with these decisions and with all of the e-file stuff coming out and with renegade Republicans not doing what he wants, apparently now the Congress has gone home early because nobody's gonna pass that SAVE Act. And so Mike Johnson has just said, I give up. So he is worried about whether he can maintain control over the Republicans. I don't think he can. He doesn't think that he can. And he really is wondering who is loyal to me. So I think it's going to be a week of that first week, a week of well-deserved paranoia. That's what I think. Okay. The second tarot card. So let me look and see whether the definition is much different. Mm. The second card is the Seven of Cups. So normally you'll see, a figure, a lot of times it's female, with seven cups above her head, and they are all sort of tempting things. And, it's the card for indecision. Do I do this? Do I do that? I want this, but I want that too. That's really what the card is. And this is pretty faithful to that concept, where we have seven cups down here. We have a woman whose head is in the clouds. She's building castles in the air. So I think he goes from paranoia the first week to um, trying to come up with options the second week for how to handle all of this. But again, none of these options, he's not realistic, right? He still tells himself people love him in spite of the obvious. Um, he still thinks he's going to get the Peace Prize in spite of the obvious. So he's delusional, it feels like, in that second week. Now, the thing that comes to my mind is Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's Seven Stages of Grief. So let's say you get bad news, a bad diagnosis, right? The first one, Three of Swords, it's like you got stabbed in the heart. Like, what are you going to do? You don't know. You're so mad and sad and depressed. You feel everything at once. Okay. Um, just the pain of it all. Another stage would be um, denial. Like, surely that diagnosis is not correct. Surely my records got mixed up with somebody else's. It's one of the stages. And the stages, mind you, are not linear. I mean, ideally they are linear because the last one is acceptance, but they're not linear. It's like, well, I mean, I was a widow. I'm still a widow, I guess you could say. And I thought that, I knew about these stages of grief, and I would say, I feel like I passed through that one, so why do I feel like I'm back in that one? There's nothing linear about it. But he is now in that bargaining stage, like literal bargaining stage. Mike, if you give me this, I'll give you that. Lindsay, if you do this for me, I'll do this for you. And it's based on, again, castles in the sky, thinking that this presidency and his place in history can still be not just salvaged, but sort of better than anybody else's position in history who's had that job. So he's really unrealistic in that second week, delusional, I would say. But let's see what the clarifiers are. So I'm going to pull three clarifiers for that second week. And we have the whip, we have the book, and we have the letter. I think that his sort of pie in the sky lack of groundedness, his delusion, it stems directly from the fact that um, he's going to feel like people really are, um, I dropped him, oops, playing hardball with him about the war, excuse me, about the SAVE Act, about the e-files. He's going to really feel the heat because the whip is the card for, well, it's a whip, right? People are going to say, well, how are you going to stop this war? You got us into it. How are you going to get us out of it? It's not sufficient for him to say, well, I'm going to blame JD. It's not going to work. So he is under a lot of strain. He doesn't know what to do because remember the book, even though you and I know books hold information, and sometimes in Lenormand, a book is just a book, it's just a book, but not here. Here it's the traditional meaning of this card, which is I don't know what to do. I have no idea. None. Um, and I know this is going to cost me votes. So what I think happens in week two is that he experiences what I'm going to call an even greater level of dissociation than we've sometimes seen. So be prepared for that in the second week. Okay. The third week, I just want to see um, what they say, whether they say anything different than what I would normally say about this particular card. All right. So bear in mind, he goes from hurt and anger in week one to high in the sky dissociation in week two to the Ace of Swords in week three. Now, uh, we saw swords in that first card, right? And remember that I told you that in tarot, swords are mental. It's all mental. And this is the Ace of Swords. So I think that he will have come out of this dissociative state with an idea. And he thinks that this idea is grounded in logic, his idea of logic. But, so expect something big in that third week, some big decision that he makes. Because remember, it's thinking, um, some idea that he proposes. All right, and let me look at the tarot cards for this Ace of Swords. We have the heart, the scythe, and the ship. Well, I mean, I could be super literal about this. Remember, this is clarifying the Ace of Swords. So he could make some big pronouncement, right? Like, I don't know, I'm going to institute a draft. Um, Black people can't drink from water fountains. Um, uh, he's going to do something that he thinks will is rational and smart and will win back his base and will win over Congress and will make Israel do what he wants them to do and will make Iran call him daddy, whatever that is. But that's because he's under so much stress, as we have seen in the previous 2 weeks, with the walls closing in and even allies, not allies really anymore. You don't have to be a genius, nor do you have to read Lenormand to look at these two cards. And if I were to say to you, what do you think this literally is? And I will give you a little visual. Get it? I think there could be a medical event that is cardiac in nature. Now, will it mean the end of him? No, it won't. And I'm not sure, but what this hasn't happened before, by the way. But I think the stress of July by that third week will be so high, the pressure on him will be so extreme that he is absolutely susceptible. And very interesting, the third clarifier is the ship. And more than one of us who do this work in the divination space have posited that a way for him to slide out from under things is to say, is to be approached by Mike, I guess, and Lindsay and whomever, Thune, I guess, who would say, you're not well. And, you just had your 80th birthday, and I'm sure your grandchildren would love to spend time with you. And meanwhile, we need to sweep the decks and get ready for 2026 and then 2028. And so maybe it's time for you to step aside. I think that will be broached. And uh, it's certainly something in his mind. In other words, for the right price, and I feel like the price for him would be money, which he's already stolen billions from us, but whatever, allegedly, entertainment purposes only, but also a guaranteed get out of jail card free, to get out of jail card. Um, I think if he got those two guarantees, a bucket of money and a get out of jail free card, or don't have to go to jail free, he could be induced to leave early, but not without this medical emergency happening first. And I think in the third week that could happen. And then we have the fourth week, which will take us through the 31st. And let me just look and see what that one is. Um, Very interesting because we're getting tons of swords. Swords are not wands. Wands are action. Swords are are thoughts and ideas, right? Um, so if he were to do this, it would not be in July. It might be like, I don't know, he could say at the midterms or something he would leave. But I mean, this could put him out of actual commission for the summer anyway. Again, I might be right, I might be wrong. I'm just reading the cards, and you can read that scythe and that heart just like I can. Okay. Um, mm, okay. So it makes sense that this would be the last week. This is the Queen of Swords. Now, I mean, a queen. She's a queen. She's got it all, right? Like the felon, got it all, right? But look at her. Does she look like she's got it all? What she looks like in this deck, and this is why, cards are so cool because different artists do different things with cards. And so with tarot, it's very important to look at the picture. This is a very different queen of swords than the standard Rider Waite or Waite Smith. This is someone who is burdened by leadership. Wouldn't that make sense if someone is in the process of recovering from an event, cardiac event, that they would feel, and they're 80 years old, that they would feel overwhelmed, tired, burdened? So this is a little bit of a progression. Remember, we start out with this Three of Swords where he feels, stabbed in the heart because nobody went to his fair, whatever. Nobody likes him and he can't make peace and his constituency has pulled away and even the Congress people are pulling away. So he's feeling the pain of that. And then he moves, remember, with this Seven of Cups to dissociation. La, 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 this is not happening. Everything's going to be fine. And why? Because he's being really Um, his feet are being held to the fire. Like, how are you going to get out of this war? How are you going to get out of this recession? When are you going to pay that tariff money back? Well, he's getting it from all. What about those e-files? He's getting it from all sides, which is just causes like practically like a psychotic break and causes him to dissociate. Second week. Third week, we have, remember, this Ace of Swords card where he comes up with something. He thinks he's got the big plan. He's going to figure it out. And then because he's all worked up from that, he has a health event that changes things, that changes the direction of things. Now remember, we're talking about swords, so it's not that it actually happens that he leaves, but he starts thinking about leaving, and those around him start thinking more seriously about that. And then here we have this Queen of Swords who is just burdened. There's no dissociation that can take this cup from her, right? The only way he can be unburdened is to leave, however that happens. But let's look at the clarifying Lenormand cards. Okay, so here's our put upon Queen of Swords. He's just really at his wit's end. The burden is heavy. And we have the star, the anchor, and the coffin. Again, this is not anybody who's carefree. He thinks about the future. And whenever he thinks about it, he is just brought low. These two cards together talk about depression. This also is what it is. It's that thing we all end up in that nobody likes. It could be literal, right? Remember how I said sometimes a book is a book? It's literally a book. Well, sometimes a coffin is literally a coffin. But, more often we're talking about a deep depression. So they say April is the cruelest month. I think for him, July will to date be the cruelest month. It's my birthday month, so I love it. I don't care. But for him, I think July will have proved to be the cruelest month. So just sit tight, keep your seatbelt on. Remember that he will make some big announcement that will, you know, make everybody's hair light on fire. Don't take the bait. Don't take the bait. However bad and stressy your July may feel, I guarantee you his will be 10 times worse. So tick tock, as they say. Um, that's it. So happy, what day is today? Tuesday. Tomorrow, I will be back here in the evening at 6 p.m. Pacific, and that's 9 p.m. Eastern. That's when Lena from Lena Down Under, our Australian friend, and I collaborate. And so we'll be together for an hour. It will be live. We read the feed as we go. Sometimes we can answer questions, but a lot of times we have things that we want to talk about. And basically, whoever is there just sort of listens to our conversation. And then contributes in the chat. So I will put the notification up for that. Be sure that you have your notifications set to all. Again, I do feel like I'm kind of being suppressed. So some of you have said even when you have your notifications set to all, you don't get notified. That is not a me thing. That is a YouTube thing. I'm in their house. I am a guest in their home. It is their rules, their platform. all I can do is what I do. So, um, you know, if you don't see me, look for me because I'm around and I will be there tomorrow with Lena tomorrow night. I'm gonna go put up the announcement right now. So thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. I have a wonderful, wonderful YouTube audience. I would say that overwhelmingly, um, you all are kind and very smart and very generous and very aware of what's going on. And I love that for all of us. So I will see you tomorrow night with Lena and enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Take care.